Real winners don't just win once, they win multiple times consistently. This inspirational session shares case studies and stories on how one should seize opportunities even during the roughest times. We're glad to have our esteemed guest this afternoon. He is the proud Filipino winner of the hit Asian reality TV show, The Apprentice Asia. He is also a multi-awarded marketer and HR professional with over 15 years of experience in Southeast Asia. Dubbed as Asia's Millennial Guru, he is Asia's leading motivational speaker on topics involving leadership, talent development of Gen Y workers, and office productivity. He is also the author of 3 certified best-selling motivational books titled From Grit to Great, Fast Forward, and Single, Taken, or Building My Empire. He is also the founder and managing director of his marketing consultancy firm, the JY Consultancy and Ventures, which offers marketing and talent optimization services to startups and Fortune 500 companies in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Mr. Jonathan Yabut.
All right. Good day, everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction. This is Jonathan. I'm so excited to see all of our participants today. Before I start, I'd like to energize everyone in the chat box. So could you please indicate or type an exclamation mark. More exclamation mark means you guys are ready to start. And I also want to see in the chat box, could you please type which part of the Philippines or the world are you typing from? I would love to visualize. Do we have participants from Manila, from Quezon City, Cebu? Do we have participants from outside the Philippines, for example? Could you please type that? It will be great if I get to see that. I'm streaming, by the way, from Taguig. And so as we start, this is my session and it's entitled What Winners Are Made Of, the Power of Investing in Growth Mindset. I'm here to motivate everyone, both from the mindset of motivation, our technical skills, and also our financial wellness on how we can be even faster, bolder, and better in between the times of uncertainty. And I'd like to thank again Camelo for inviting me in today's session. So before I start, and I think this is something that was introduced a while ago, my origins come from humble beginnings. A few years back, I joined a reality TV show called The Apprentice Asia. I also want to energize today's session because I think everyone is up for more learning. So I want to give away some prizes. Can I get the letter P in the chat box if you guys are up for that? Thank you. So I'm going to give away a prize, and that is a ticket to my upcoming webinar happening on June 26th. This is already on Saturday, and this is Boost Your Confidence Workshop. It's a public speaking and business writing online bootcamp for 2 hours, and today I'll be giving away 5 tickets. All you need to do is to answer my trivia question, which is hidden in the middle of the session. That means you have to be very attentive. And then you also have to respond through a Viber community app. So if you have a Viber account, I'll be showing to you later on a QR code and a link. You need to submit your answers on that Viber community, and the fastest fingers are going to win. Okay, let's get to business. Please prepare to engage in the following activities spread across the session. Keep the chat box as noisy as much as you can. I want all of those texts and chats coming in. Number 2, I'll be asking some questions. Type letter A, letter B, or letter C. And then if we have time, but I don't think we'll have time for that, we'll do a quick Q&A as well. Or you can always contact me on my social media accounts if you have personal questions about your career or business to ask. So let's start with this first poll. Could you please type your answer in the chat box? How do you feel these days? Okay. I want 100% honesty. Hindi to pagandahan ng sagot. This is about giving the most honest answer. So letter A, no change. Letter B, do you feel anxious and worried? Letter C, do you feel challenged but taking it one day at a time? Or letter D, optimistic that I will get through? I will expect I'll be seeing a lot of letter C, or yung iba sagot letter D. Okay, there's no right or wrong. Sometimes my answer will be letter B, anxious and worried, because it's the time of unpredictability. We don't know what's going to happen. But beyond being anxious about it, you also have to acknowledge it's a function of time. You take it one day at a time and you tell yourself, I will get through it because I want to get through it and I deserve to get through it. So thank you for those who have shared their responses in the chat box. It seems like I'm seeing a lot of letter C and a lot of letter D as well, right? Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because in the time of pandemic, when it comes to talking about success, there are three things that we realize are critical. And this is something that I also personally realized throughout my journey when the pandemic started. Number one, many of us, whether individuals or businesses, our ability to survive the pandemic is dependent on our ability to embrace technology. Napansin nyo ba? Lahat ng mga processes right now, cashless and contactless. Right? In the time of pandemic, technology is going to be your best ally in order to get things done. Number two, your financial wellness, obviously, is one of the most important parts. Whether it's about having an emergency saving or taking advantage of being able to invest in either financial or property instruments, because you know that in the next few years, as the Philippines continues to boom as a developing economy, we want to take advantage and maximize the opportunities. And finally, number three, hindi mawawala, of course, ang ating mental health. I think this is something a lot of us realize. Nakakulong ka sa bahay for many weeks. You can't even see a lot of your friends and relatives. Our motivations and our mental health remain to be important, because if you don't feel well mentally, you won't be able to get things done physically, for work, or for your personal lives as well. Right? So John, okay, gets ko na. What are the next steps in order for me to manage all those three critical factors? And I'm here quickly to share with you those three tips. So let's start with the first one. And this for me is one of my favorite because it really helped me get through the pandemic. So if you're familiar with what I do, I am in the business of training and inspiring people. Most of my events were done face-to-face. Kailangan may stage, kailangan may lights, kailangan may tao. But because the pandemic happened, I had to pivot. I had to learn doing things digitally and also virtually. What we're doing right now is an example of that. And so in order to get through the pandemic and moving forward in the future, I want to ask you to please invest in your technology quotient. Kung meron tinatawag na IQ, EQ, AQ, whatever it is, meron din tayong TQ. Your ability to be confident in using different kinds of platforms and gadgets and applications. The survival of the fittest will be determined by those who can create or adjust to new technologies. So can I please ask, let's check if you are stretching in your journey right now. Could you please type letter A if in the past 4 weeks, if you have discovered a new app that will make you work faster and better? Okay, could you please type that? I hope you have. 4 weeks is about 1 month. Could you also please type letter Q if whenever you are faced with a question or a problem at work or in life, agad-agad mong tinatanong sa sarili mo, teka lang, meron bang application for this? Can I search this on Google? Meron bang sagot nito na pwede kong panoorin na tutorial via YouTube? If your answer is yes to all of these questions, then you're in a good place. That means you have a mindset wherein you always see technology as something that can help you improve faster and better. And that is very important in the time of pandemic when a lot of technologies have changed in just a span of 1 year. So my request to all of you, to achieve success, you have to explore technologies you've always been curious to use. Every employer, every businessman, every person will ask you about these things. So for example, wag lang tayong gumamit ng Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Lahat tayo very familiar na with that. We should always expand our knowledge to other kinds of technology. For example, whether it be about e-commerce, entertainment, communication, or fintech, dapat as much as possible, we should also be familiarizing ourselves on how to use this. At hindi lang paggamit, familiarizing what are the business models, right? So for example, you have your GCash and PayMaya, which I think we all are familiar with because these are apps that allowed us to be able to buy groceries or pay for our bills when we couldn't anymore get to the branches physically. Same thing also, we're using, for example, a platform like Zoom. If you have to do meetings with your other clients, what other platforms are you also familiar with so that when you are about to do that job interview, when you're about to do that pitch to an investor of your business, right? This is the least of the problems that you have, and you get to focus on other things that matter for your life and also for your work, right? I want to share some of my favorite apps. In case you're not familiar with this can help you in your success. For example, if you're about to do a video conferencing, whether it's on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, you should be able to test your internet speed first. One of my favorite websites is speedtest.net. A decent video call requires you to have at least 2 Mbps. So if you don't have that proper internet connection, you might want to look for something else. Kapag naka-prepaid internet ka, for example, please take note, a 15-minute video call like this, like I'm doing a 30-minute call, it can easily eat up 300 megabytes of your prepaid internet. Dapat yan alam na natin so that we are always prepared every time we need to engage virtually. One of my other famous and favorite app is Crisp. Can I get the letter K in the chat box if you're familiar with this? One of our biggest problems in the time of pandemic is meron tayong distractions sa background. Umiiyak ang bata, tumatahol ang aso, maingay ang mga kapitbahay, for example, and yet you have to do a phone call or a video call. There is an app for this. And one of the free apps I'd like to recommend to you is Crisp. It mutes the background noise for all your calls, such that the only part that can be heard is your voice, right? Can I get an exclamation mark if you find that very helpful? It's available for your laptops. You can use it either for Mac and also for Windows. And I promise, for someone who does talks for a living, it has saved my life many times in my business many times, right? Another example, do you want to separate work from personal contacts? Meaning, sana yung Facebook account ko, meron ako for work lang, meron din ako for personal. Yung aking Viber or WhatsApp, sana meron akong isang account para lang sa mga colleagues or customer, may another account for my families and friends. If you're up for that, there is a category for it called clone apps. You can use two Facebook Messenger, two Viber accounts, etc. in the same phone. Some of the examples of these are Parallel Space and Dual Space, and you can download them into your smartphone. I would vouch for this because as a very busy person, sometimes you don't want to be distracted by other messages, especially during weekends, right? If you want some downtime or me time, it's good to not be distracted also. So they are for free and they are also very safe and secure to use. Another one, this is my favorite also, this is Dashlane. It is one of the most popular apps that you can use for both mobile phone and website. Lagi mo bang nakakalimutan ang mga passwords mo sa lahat ng iyong mga accounts? There is a company called Dashlane wherein one program to manage all of your passwords. So you don't need to remember every unique password. You just need to input them one time and then it automatically gets into your devices. It's also very secure because it still is using a unique encryption per device. And I also vouch this because I am personally using it for a lot of my accounts. The last example of technology that has changed in the past 12 months, one of my last favorite app is Microsoft Your Phone. Can I get the letter M in the chat box if you're using a Microsoft laptop? I think a lot of us do. And can I also get a letter A in the chat box? Could you please type if you're using an Android phone? All right, so just to wrap up this tip, may I ask our participants, have you discovered a new technology since the quarantine started? Right, I hope you have. Letter A, yes, thankful it made my life easier. Or letter B, no, but I will start exploring now. The key there is to have that mindset. How can I achieve something better, faster, or even cheaper via technology? Could you please give me an exclamation mark if we are learning something so far? Very good, thank you. As promised, we're gonna give away now our tickets to boost your confidence. This is happening Saturday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I'll be giving away 5 tickets to lucky winners. And all you need to do is to join our Viber community. That's where we will collect your responses. Join my Viber community. You can scan the QR code, or if you're using your mobile phone, you can copy the link into your browser, bit.ly/JYViber. Okay? And so the first person who gets to answer this, the first 5 who get to answer this are going to win the tickets. My question is this. Could you please type in the Viber community, what number do you see? Okay. Once you're a part of the Viber community, you have to look for the Viber admin, click the Viber admin, and you have to submit your answers there. Okay. I'll give you a few seconds. And so if you got it correctly, okay, we're going to collect the answers now. People might be wondering, John, are you going to announce it now? Well, we're going to check it later on. We are going to announce it tomorrow on the Facebook page of Camellia Homes, and that is facebook.com/CameliaOfficial. We're going to be announcing it tomorrow, so please make sure you like and you follow also the Facebook page. The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 5413. Okay? 5413. All the 5 winners, we will be contacting you later on tomorrow. We'll be displaying your names also on the Facebook page. All right, let's proceed to tip number 2. Invest in your financial wellness. Know the difference between saving. Saving meaning kung anong meron ka, anong natira, tatago mo, and that's it. Right? We all know that savings can only earn as much, 0.000% something, if you keep it in bank. But there's a difference between saving and growing. You keep a certain portion and then you put that and invest it into something else that can lead to better value, to appreciation, or to higher interest rates. One of them, for example, as related to this topic, are properties, of course. So may I please ask, on a scale of 1 to 5, rank this statement, 5 as the highest. I acknowledge that the key to achieving financial wellness is to manage risks and unpredictability. Okay, no right or wrong, ha? This is depending on your belief. So some people might give you a number 5, number 4. I personally would give this a 5. I totally believe it's about managing what can happen in the future, because we don't know what can happen in the future, and so you manage your risk. That's the number 1 rule in investment. In order to grow your assets, you have to put it into different baskets. You have to diversify it, you spread it across opportunities, and that's the way to manage the risk. Therefore, if you have a certain amount of money or assets, alam natin, don't put it only in savings. The more you become mature with your financial health, you put it into other instruments. You have equities and bonds. In the time of pandemic, equities and bonds may not be doing well, or equities specifically. And so what do? You put it into other instruments. You have your money market. You also get a life or health insurance just to hedge, all right, on your expenses. And of course, you have also your property, which we have seen time and time again across the years is one of the most resilient markets in the Philippines when you have a very good and booming population and a developing economy. Science tells us that you can likely increase your savings and assets when you do the following, and this is backed up by a lot of studies. Number 1, if you automate the act. Kapag dinidisiplina mo ang sarili mo na every month after you get a certain amount of money, you keep it automatically and you find a way to automate it. For example, yung bank account, nung bata ako, I would automatically transfer a certain amount to another savings account na hindi ko pwedeng galawin. And so I ended up saving more. This is no different to putting your assets into other instruments. For example, if you get a life insurance, you're telling yourself that you have to discipline the amount of money to save. The same thing also with investing in property. It disciplines your financial habit that every month or every quarter you put aside so that in the future that can potentially grow into something even bigger or for yourself, right? Number 2, when you measure the progress of your asset, you are likely going to be inspired to further grow it, right? If you keep on taking account of your expenses, taking account of the appreciation of your asset, that also applies to property. The one thing I like about property is that when you have your own property agent or your partner, they will always make you keep track of how your properties are also appreciating. This is why when you buy a property, lagi yung narinig na, uy, nag-appreciate na siya ng by about 5 to 10%. So tracking is very important. You get to also see and feel the market value because the property industry is also sensitive to it. Finally, number 3, if you surround yourself with the right peers, you're likely going to end up saving and growing your assets. Why? It's all about the mindset. What I like also about the property industry is that it has an active community of real estate agents and buyers who are naturally collaborative and helpful. As a property investor and a property owner, what I like about it is I was able to open up my friends and networks into a group of people that I never knew, into a group of people who I would have not met if I stuck only to my set of friends. Because remember, when your set of friends are also property owners, ibang klaseng tao na mga yan. So these are people who've already built something for their lives. These are people who have already matured and gained enough of wisdom. And likely they also know a lot when it comes to managing assets. The more you get to know these people, the more you also appreciate that you can do more for your life and for your business. Can I get an exclamation mark? Do we see the benefit? And if you notice, the benefit is not only financial, the benefit is also personal in this case. So now I want to ask, and this one, I want you to be honest also. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm here to talk about financial wellness in general. Do you have plans of investing in the property market in the next 6 or 12 months? Could you please type your answer? Letter Y or letter N? And if your answer is no, do you see that in another horizon, like in the next 2 years, 3 years, or are you saving it up and you're seeing it in the next 4 or 5 years, right? Regardless of what your answer is, please take note, the Philippine landscape, and this is the reason why I'm confident to talk about myself as a property investor and owner, because I see, and this is what economists would also see, remains to be robust for property investment. Please take note, property industries thrive in the time of rapid urbanization. The good thing about the Philippines is that we are a developing country wherein we are seeing all of these developments during this time of our lives, right? When you look at Facebook, when you look at outside, you'll notice that there is ongoing construction here and there, and that includes the roads. This is what I love about Metro Manila or Cebu or Davao, for example, wherein before, something that was 2 or 3 hours away is now easily accessible in just a matter of minutes because roads are now connected even to the other provinces down to the cities themselves. Number 2, please take note, and this is the good part of our economy, we have a very young population that strongly drives for property demand. When you look at Southeast Asia in general, countries like Indonesia and the Philippines, the median age of a typical Filipino is between the age range of 23 to 27 years old. Kapag bata pa ang population mo, this means that there is a bigger demand not only in the present but also in the future time for housing, for accommodation. These are the same people who in the next 5 or 10 years are eventually going to have families and therefore going to have that need for property investments as well. And finally, number 3, this is the emotional part, which gives me that confidence that the property industry is booming well. Remember, the ultimate Pinoy ambition remains to be owning one's dream house. Can I get an exclamation mark if that's also your ultimate dream, right? And for that reason, it remains to be a part of that important list that we need to tick off, right? Before we get too old in order for us to live a satisfied life, right? And so this 3 elements, for example, gives me that confidence that the landscape and the economy remains to be robust for property investments as well. Can I get an exclamation mark? Are we learning something so far? I hope you're also inspired. And finally, to end this talk, let's give some more inspiration, right? And before I do that, munti ko itong makalimutan, I want to give away our best-selling books to our participants. This is our last prize. So these are all motivational books, certified bestseller by National Bookstore. And I'd like to give away the digital copies to 2 winners today. Okay, so here is my question. As usual, again, you have to scan the QR code or you can copy the link. And we're also going to be announcing the winners on the Facebook official page of Camellia Homes. Okay, so here is the question. Could you please type, right? Submit that on Viber community. What is the mistake? Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, I think we got a good handful of answers now. The correct answer is doble ang word na the. Did you see that? Yung mga ibang sagot nila nasa numbers, but it has nothing to do with it. It's with the word the. Okay? Very good. So we'll be announcing again tomorrow on the Facebook page of Camellia Homes. Please stay tuned, and we're going to give you the instructions on how to claim your prize. Let's end the session with this last part. Invest in your motivation. Learn how to build your grit. We've talked about technological mindset. We've talked about your financial mindset. Let's talk about your motivational mindset also, right? Can I get an exclamation mark if you agree that having graduated with honors in high school and university can give you advantage, but it doesn't necessarily commit or guarantee that you're going to be the most successful in the corporate world. Agree? I agree also with that. And so success, therefore, is not just dependent on your IQ. It's not just dependent on EQ. It's not just dependent on your good looks, because sometimes it can be. It's not just dependent on your fitness and your wealth. One of my favorite psychologists of all time is Dr. Angela Duckworth. At sabi niya, kung hindi ito ang basis ng success, what therefore can make people successful in life? So as an American psychologist, she experimented. She went to the National Spelling Bee of America, predicting which students will advance to the semifinal round. She went to New York public schools, predicting which teachers who are underpaid with salaries will still be good teachers. She went to the West Point Military Academy, our version of PMA, which cadets are going to become soldiers, even if masyadong mainit during summertime when a lot of them can just easily die or collapse. In all of her experiments, the ones who succeeded don't necessarily have the highest IQ, nor the EQ, good looks, or wealth. In fact, sometimes talent or intellect is either not related and sometimes is inversely related to measures of success. The one thing that she was able to spot on is the concept of grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for a very long-term goal. Grit is wanting something so bad that no matter how many times you fall down, you pick yourself up and you start all over again because you want it so bad. If you're interested to watch the study of Dr. Angela Duckworth, she has an amazing 6-minute TED Talk that you can watch on YouTube. I'm showing that in front of you. Please take a photo, take a screenshot. Promise, guys, this has dramatically changed how I saw failures in life. And what Dr. Angela Duckworth said, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a necessary condition for success to happen, right? I'm sharing this because I'd like to believe that my victory in The Apprentice Asia, when I won that show 7 years ago, is a story of grit. If you saw me on the show, I was the youngest contestant with the least amount of experience. I was not expected to win, but I thought I won because I was the grittiest. I wanted to raise the Filipino flag to prove to the rest of the world that we are globally world-class, good in what we do. I wanted to prove to the rest of the world that you can never be too small to dream big. As someone who lived in the slums of Tondo until the age of 17, that's where I grew up, and that's where my father and my mother also started their lives. I wanted to show to the rest of the world that as long as you're able to tap the right opportunity and given the right opportunity, you can get out of the bad situations and make the most out of it. That was my virtue for grit. And so you might ask, and this is where I end my talk, John, teka lang, but how can I make myself gritty? Iniinom ba yan? Can I buy a certain magic powder from Mercury Drug? The answer, unfortunately, is no. You can't buy this in the nearest 7-Eleven store, but rather, you have to build it. And so for you to become gritty, you need to have what we call as growth mindset. Growth mindset is the belief that no matter how many times you fail, you pick yourself up and you tell yourself, as long as I keep on exerting something that I may not be good at, I will still be good at it if I keep on practicing and exerting effort onto it, right? Having a growth mindset means kahit hindi ko gusto ang aking boss sa trabaho right now, okay lang yan. Because the more I endure a bad boss for now, the more I appreciate what good leadership is. Even if I'm not good in mathematics, let's say you're a student and mathematics doesn't love me back, as long as I exert those math drills, I will still be better off than someone who did not do anything at all. The same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. The same fire that melts the butter toughens the steel. Dalawang klase lang ang tao sa mundo in times of challenges. People who say that they are victims and people who say that they are victors. Could you please type in the chat box, which one are you? I hope you choose to become the latter. I hope you choose to become the victor, especially in today's challenging times of the pandemic. And so growth mindset is when you don't just be in the state of being, you jump into becoming. The same thing which I say for financial wellness. You don't just get stuck with savings. You also progress into growing your assets by investing in instruments or properties. It's not always failure. It's called a near win. The more you attempt, the more you can get it right finally. It's not just a mistake. If you have setbacks in life, it's also a lesson. It's not just a challenge, it's also an opportunity. And finally, pag nagtanong sa'yo ang isang tao, successful ka na ba sa buhay mo? Don't say no. Give a different answer, even if it's negative. Say a 2-word instead. Choose the word not yet. Could you please type that in the chat box? Not yet. Because yes, I might not be successful now, but if I put my effort and my heart into it, if I keep on investing in it, at some point, I will get to the finish line to where I want to become. This is the power of growth mindset. So my last poll, in today's challenging times, are you building a growth mindset? Letter A, yes. Letter B, John, thank you because I learned about it and I will build it now. I hope your answer is letter A. I'm seeing the answers in the chat box. I'm very happy. Letter A, yes. And so I end with this quote. There's this quote by the famous tennis player by Billie Jean King. Ang sabi niya, pressure is privilege. Kapag nape-pressure ka na ang daming trabaho, right? See the other side of the coin. It's a privilege because not everyone has that problem right now. There are people who are desperate to have a job, to have a business these days. And if you are under that situation, pressure is privilege. Could you please type that in the chat box? Pressure is privilege, right? And with that, I am going to end my talk. Maraming salamat po for listening. Could I please ask for another exclamation mark if you feel more confident and powerful after this session? Very good. Stay safe, and I'm going to give the floor back now to the organizers. Thank you, and I hope to see you guys again soon.